Alright, hey everybody. Something real good here. Hello. Alright. Alright, so I thought I'd do something a little different today. I'm gonna start a little story here, and I'm just gonna continue through it, and people watch. That's cool. People don't watch, that's cool too. I've always kind of wanted to get into voice acting. I don't have that really far of a range, but or storytelling, something like that. If people would listen. But anyways, I did this uh Choice of Robots, played through it years ago. It was pretty good. I liked it. I went a different route that what I'm going to try to do today. I'm going to try to take over everything. I'm just all out war, you know, kill stuff. Pew 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 pew. Last time, last time I basically did AI. If anybody has ever seen that, or was it AI? But yeah. Anyways, totally different route. Okay. Let's see. I'm watching sunset. All right. We're on a war-torn battlefield with robotic Statue of Liberty. You stand in the blasted wasteland next to the Statue of Liberty. Only she's a robot with glowing red eye on the right side of her face. It places her green patina has been blasted away to reveal the dull luster of copper underneath. She crouches before you, and her crackling torch casts shadows towards her metal face and spiked crown as she looms closer. Farther away, the sounds of bombs and gunfire echo from the mountains. You smell burning oil. I made you what you are. Her voice is hollow, loud, and abrasive. Now defend me. Far from far off, you can hear the howls of the robotic wolves and the thundering feet of the other robotic colossi. Don't worry, my robots will defend you. As you say, you realize it is true. Behind you is an army of flying drones, automatic tanks, and metal men. This is the war for which you have always prepared. Military +3. Good, but wait, sorry. Good, but you yourself are still weak flesh. You must become a robot if you are to survive. Okay, sure. Okay, sure. How about if I just have a gun or an arm or something? Ah, oh, okay, sure. Tiny robots remake you from head to toe until you are built of flawless chrome. You are now a perfect tool of destruction, military +2. Moreover, as a robot yourself, you understand robots perfectly now. You can feel that any robot could have made before is inferior to the robots you can create now. But when the horde of robots swarm over the mountains to attack you, you wonder if you have sacrificed too much. What are you fighting for? Some things are in our control, and others are not. Chapter 1. Assembly. You awaken with your head on your desktop keyboard. Your 3D drafting program is still open. The schematic zoomed in to recess where your smartphone will snap it into its back to act as its brain. You recall fiddling with that part endlessly last night until finally your vision began to fade. There was a roaring in your ears, and you realized you had to be working. You had been working far, far too long. You had passed out. It's the fall of 2019. You're a 24-year-old graduate student in a PhD program in computer science at Stanford. And you're a guy whose name is King. Yep. And your last name is Refuge. Yeah, I'm sure. You look around your apartment. What does it look like? Autobots Trophy is preached on a widescreen TV equipped with the latest video game consoles. Neatly labeled plastic shelving units on a 3D printer equipped with fingerprints. There we go. You've always been fascinated with the idea of creating an artificial life. You got at least 20 such creations on your shelf. They're construction material a timeline of your life. The earliest is made of toothpicks and glue, and the latest a spider robot you made out of your old smartphone, which you plan to you plan which your plan gave you a new one. Your creations often confuse people who don't get that robots don't have to be for anything. When people pick up your three-legged wall climbing robot that sings when it detects encrypted wireless packets, they ask, "What the hell is that for?" And you reply, "What's anything for? What are you for?" Okay, maybe you don't say it like that, but you sometimes think it. Plus two autonomy. It strikes you for a moment that this kind of thinking about your life affects your robot is second nature to you. Though offers might find it particular, you always been fascinated by how little detail your life, from the content of your dreams to the decor of your room, changes the input, and the robots you create boost their empathy, or autonomy, or grace, or appeal to the military. Surely there are things going around you as a result of your decisions, but they don't immediately strike you at the same way. Today, your robot for shut the shut it. Today, your robot is foremost on your mind because you're about to build its body. You pick up your laptop and head to the Stanford machine shop. Dun dun dun. It is a beautiful spring day in Palo Alto, California, and your apartment is the only short walk from the machine shop, but its streets of Palo Alto are not designed for walking, and you find yourself climbing around a palm tree and balancing on narrow curves as you do every day. You hear a low roar overhead, glancing up as you see a flying car, a Nimbus, a little over $300,000 can buy you a car with wings that folds out. So it becomes a small, short airplane. The red Nimbus looks sleek, sporty, the sort of car that owner takes religiously into the car wash. Through the commercials would have you believe that you can fly anywhere you want in those cars. The FAA still requires them to take off and land from airports. Only here in wealthy Silicon Valley do you see them with any frequency. The first time you saw one, you couldn't quite believe the future had arrived so quickly. But the second time you saw one, you thought, I will make that much money. I'll use it to help the world instead of buying the. No. Why aren't there flying? Yeah. Why aren't they flying themselves? Occasionally you see self-driving cars on the roads, but for some reason they still haven't caught on quite as much as one would expect. Despite having been around at least as long as flying cars, you've decided that it's people just don't trust self-driving cars enough. It's important to make robots seem trustworthy. Intelligence alone doesn't instill trust, empathy. Oh boy, empathy. We don't want empathy. We're trying to take over the world. In Stanford University, fabrication shop smells like oil and burnt plastic. The room is dominated by large metal hand cranking milling machines and lathes, dinosaurs of the 20th century. While most used machines are the smaller 3D printers and computer controlled water jet cutters that take a quarter of the space. The lights have sterile fluorescent of an operating room with only a single tiny window near the ceiling to inform you that it is day. You start your National Public Radio podcast on your laptop. You haven't seen your advisor much since he joined the lab. So you choose the episode in which he's the interviewee. My guest today is Dr. Harvey Zingler. All right, says a woman with a zoomy voice. Dr. Zingler, thank you for talking to us today. Well, a scientist does have some responsibility to inform the unwashed masses, Terry. You let the podcast run. You walk over to the 3D printer. What material have you decided to use for your robot? Metal. Military, +1. You walk over to the computer controlled water jet cutter where a helpful pictorial shows the jet of abrasive filled water slicing a hand in two. Dr. Zingler, in your new book, you talk about the singularity. Could you describe for our listeners what that is? Well, Terry, the singularity is the coming of time when artificial intelligence will have figured out a way to have themselves and us smarter. Once that happens, the process we build on itself until robots are smart enough to figure out how we can live forever. Is that possible? Living forever? Of course. What does it matter whether your operating systems are made out of meat or silicone? So you're predicting we'll become robots? Not exactly. But I do think the line between humans and robots will blur. You are hardly listening to the podcast because you're about to make your first robot part. What does the head of your robot look like? A human face, as lifelike as I can make it. A simple box with eyes, clearly not trying to be anything a robot. I will felt covered and big eyed like a pit. So people will be afraid of it. Kind of like a Freddy's deal. It will have a ring of cameras around its head for 360. Oh, there we go. It will look like a Pinto mask. Beautiful. Oh, I'm sure I'm spelling that wrong. It will ring cameras around a 360 view. That's probably military there. Military decision. Yep. You see no reason to force your robot to have bionicular vision when it is relative easily to stitch images together to form 360 panoramas. Your robot will always have a good sense of where it is, and it will be hard to sneak up on military +2. But some people may be concerned with this alien appearance. Its head looks like a mushroom cap surrounded by arachnid eyes. Yeah. Dr. Zingler, what do you think of the singularity will happen now? Well, for one thing, I'm around. But seriously, My lab is taking a unique approach because we're saying, why not teach a robot like a child? We're going to equip the robot with the best sensors, memory can buy, and teach it English. Then it could rapidly teach itself using the internet. Well, well, that's annoying. Your advisor thought that a robot child would be a stupid idea until you told him Turing proposed it back in 1950, minus the internet part. But he is giving credit to either of you. You keep working regardless. How will your robot get along? 2 legs, 8 legs, roll on wheels, helicopter. It will roll on tank tracks. It will walk upright, but will also have delicate wings. It can use for what? What? No, that's a horrible idea. I don't want it to have 8 legs. I want 2 legs. Wheels or treads? Probably should go with treads, right? Or fly like a helicopter. Oh boy. Let's make a helicopter. Military. I bet the treads would probably give us 3. The drone revolution. The drone revolution of early 20th century made small helicopter rotors the clear preferred method of travel for robot. Is a similarity for previous unarmed aerial vehicles should help you find military customers, military plus 2. However, people may not be as willing to see a little flying helicopter thing as human. I don't care. The water jet cutter cuts through the rotors one by one and finally cuts the cross-shaped flame and that connects them to the head. You use the basic hand crank milling machines to drill holes in the head for screws. Since water jet cutters aren't the best for threaded holes. And who's and who is going to raise this robotic child? Who does the grunt work in the research laboratory? A graduate student, of course. You find yourself waiting to reply to the podcast. It's not grunt work, it's education is critical to the lower box development. Well, no shit. We also do all the real science. Perhaps you could learn something from doing a little grunt work yourself, Professor Ziegler. I'd give us. I'd give us anything. Graduate students always overestimate the degree to which teaching actually matters, says Professor Ziegler, who appears to have entered the machine shop behind you when you weren't looking. If the robot's smart, it'll learn no matter what. And if it's not, it won't. Professor Ziegler is a heavy-set man wearing a Hawaiian t-shirt and aviator glasses. He stalks over to your computer. We'll be back in a moment, continues the interviewer. We're talking with Professor Ziegler pauses the podcast by hitting your laptop spacebar, and you flinch at the intrusion. When he pulls his cigar from his pocket and lights it up, the smell of smoke mingles with the oily smell of the machine shop. I'm writing a grant for DARPA, and I need to see what you're making back here. We ultimately get funded by the Department of Defenses, so have you make sure they're happy with our product. He casts critical eyes on your work you've done so far. Metal. Good choice. They'll want things to appear durable in the field. Professor Ziegler examines your robot's head, which is currently sitting on the table next to what? The water cutter jet? That seems alright. Looks like it could be sufficiently intimidating. And what are you planning to do with the arms and hands? A Tyrannosaurus Rex was the most intimidating dinosaur imaginable, wasn't it? He'll have T-Rex arms. It will have a gun for arms like Mega Man. Oh, he he he. No, I was thinking sort of a swift army hands with tools that pop out. I plan to build soft hands with good sense of touch. I was thinking, why just two arms? It will have arms springing out of its back like Inspector Gadget. Dun 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 dun. Let's get Mega Man arms. Military +3 minus grace. We don't need grace. Mega Man, Zingler says. Is that a comic book character or something? It's a classic Nintendo game. He was a robot fighting other evil robots alongside his robot dog, Rush. Zingler stares at you impatiently. Gun arm, you say. That's the important thing. It's a gun. It's an arm. What's not to like? Fine, Zingler says, waving you away. Further explanation. Carry on, then. He turns back to leave. I've got to go take a call from New York Times. Reporter. Funny how journalists all copy each other's stories, but each garble the message in a unique way. He makes it to the door and turns around and says, Oh, and one more thing. Do you think Robot can be ready by tomorrow? Someone from the Air Force will be in town, and I told her about your robot. Might be ready to show off by then. You feel your phone vibrate in your pocket. Bad timing. You resist the urge to check it while walking to your advisor, but probably someone with a better offer for what to do tonight. The robot will be done, but the demo will be out of the question. We need to test it first. I can see the logic in that. Maybe we'll send her a demo video. Then it only has to work once. Professor Ziegler turns and walks away out of the machine shop. You find yourself unclenching your hands. And who was calling you while Professor Ziegler was talking to you? My ambitious friend Josh is gonna make me rich. From the missed call, your phone is displaying Josh's profile. It's a picture of Josh and Ellie from the freshman welcome week dance several years ago. Ellie is wearing a red Chinese dress with gold trim. Her long, straight black hair falling down to the epaulets. What up? Epaulets. Whatever that is. The flash is too bright in the picture, making Ellie's pale skin look washed out. Josh is wearing his usual gray hoodie, not having bothered to dress up for the dance, and his arms around Ellie. What is the story behind the picture? I was in love with Josh's friend Ellie, but my studies always came first in college. I was in love with Josh, but I never knew how. Dude, no, we're not in love with Josh. I agreed to be Josh's wing person at the dance, and that, there we go. I was his wingman, helping him brother out. Yes, you and Josh did everything together. You made a great team. When Ellie started talking to you, you thought at first, from her sense of style, that she was Josh's type. He liked his women to be snappy dressers, even though they always dressed down, and you introduced them. It turned out to be, it turned out they had no chemistry, but you all enjoyed each other's company. Three of you became friends throughout college. You don't see them much of all often, but they're still your friends. You notice that Josh also left you a text. Josh wants to meet in the dinner at the diner at the burger joint, East Palo Alto. He says he wants to run some projects or ideas by you, see if you're interested working with the company. It occurs to you that working with Josh, you might be able to get funding for your education from him instead of Professor Ziegler's military giants. He texts back, I can't tonight, man. Got the military, man. Too bad, Josh. Talk to me next time. You spend the rest of your day drilling holes, polishing surfaces, cutting parts, and screwing things together. When they are done, your robot's body stands before you, the metal rotary wing robot with a blah blah blah. Panthethic pano 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 typic head and gun arm. And the whole thing is about 3 feet long. Now it only needs a name. What will you call your robot? Pickle. Beast. You name your robot Beast as it benefits such an ugly thing, but you think its intelligence will shine through its rough exterior. Now the Beast has a body. It might be time to treat Beast more like a person. What? With what pronoun? Pronouns? It is just fine. It will refer to him as masculine. It will prefer to use entirely new pronouns for robots. Re, and him. It will. It is not human. No, sir. We did that last time, and it's pretty good. But no, take over the world. Time. People shouldn't get too attached to robots. You reason they're specifically built to tasks that people want to do. Military plus one. You look at Beast's 3 foot tall rotary wing body with satisfaction. Now all it needs are motors and a mind. The motors will have to wait for tomorrow. But you spent years in graduate school writing code. It would form the robot's mind. You can hardly wait to try it out. You head back to your apartment where you spend several hours working with the final touches of Beast's natural language processing code. What language do programs? What language do you program your robots in? Sorry, C++. Speed of thought is all Python. It has the best tools. Go for the beautiful language. Java. Everyone uses Java. C++. Like the game industry, which also uses C++, you understand that the speed is most important. Although other concerns are secondary, your code is full of asterisks, ampersands, tildes, parentheses, and arrows like the blackboard of a hyperactive professor who had too much to drink. Somewhere in this code is a memory leak or mismanaged pointer that will cause your robot to crash or possibly decide to take over the world. Yes. In the meantime, your code is quite fast autonomy. With the code done, you are briefly you briefly add just enough motors to allow Beast to explore your room. It's it's a quick job. You'll do more. You'll be more thorough one tomorrow. Your smartphone won't have much power for the motors right now anyway. Finally, you upload the code to your smartphone and plug it into Beast's back. You touch the icon labeled Beast, and a big button fills the screen. Your fingers hovers over the button. You probably want to. Your first word. You probably want the first word Beast learns to be significant somehow. What is the first thing Beast will see when your power is turned on? A mirror? Looking at me. I'm sure that's there as a joke, but yeah, call me king. You think on a first name basis with Beast will help you get along. Empathy. King, you say. King. Sorry. What the king? The Beast repeats. You then pick based up. You then pick Beast up and put it down in the center of the room to allow it to explore at will. But at first, it simply seems overwhelmed by the possibilities. You decide to call this state curiosity. I allow Beast to choose where to go. Yeah, there we go. That's military. Give him an order. Go to the closet, you say. Beast then heads towards the closet. Beast seems less agitated now, as it learns it is sometimes reassuring to let other people make decisions. Military +2. You pick Beast up in your hands, it wiggles nervously. I got you. I got you. You say, you got me. It continues to wriggle. Stop! Your robot becomes still in your hands. You teach it that the world for the state is weakness. Beast repeats back, weakness. Repeats back, you have set the stage for it to fear and despise failure in itself and others. Grace and autonomy. But now it is near mindset and have another busy day ahead of improving Beast. You get ready for bed, leaving the bed, Beast plugged into the wall with your cell phone. Stay there, you tell it. Beast obediently stays very still so that while you are drifting off to sleep, you glance down at Beast just to make sure its code didn't crash. But it's still there, looking up at you adoringly, and you think it will probably remain like that all night. Next day. The next day, you take a Beast to the Stanford Hacker Space, which has more tools for electronics and fabrication shop. None of the other students here around in the morning on a Sunday, but are long stainless steel workbenches and littered with their stage half finished projects. A half disassembled Furby, a potato gun, a circuit board connected to a house plant. Sorry, Beast, but I'm going to have to power you down for a moment. You say, we're going to switch you to a new power source. Strong. I get this computer voice right. Strong. 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 Something like that. Yes, you'll be much stronger. Okay. You fiddle with the smartphone lodged in Beast's pack, exit the application, and that is Beast's mind and power it down. What will you use for a power source? A car battery. It's big and bulky, but inexpensive and locally made. A motorcycle battery, not quite as bulky or powerful as a car battery. Biodiesel engine, good for the environment, and everybody likes the smell of French fries. Cell phone batteries made from China, lightweight and cheap while providing reasonable power. Clearly the best choice for a dexterous robot. Yeah, but we're getting our shit from China. Shit. That's gotta be the military choice right there. I don't want to go to China. You have a feeling using car batteries for beasts will save you a fair amount of money in the long run, plus wealth. Beasts can still fly with a car battery, but its takeoff and landing are definitely sluggish. Perhaps you should have chosen something lighter for a flying robot, though at least its power is long lasting. You'll need to you'll need a lot of motors to be able to power your full robot in addition to the motors it needs when it flies. The motors seem to power its arm gun. It also needs motors for moving its head and eyes, but after specking the power available to you, you can still splurge by adding extra motors in one place. What will it be? Extra degrees of freedom in the face of realistic facial expression. I will add motors that stabilize the aim beast gun arm. I proved to save power from beast's mind. You decide not to add more motors to Beast. The extra power could be used to overclock Beast's multi-core CPU autonomy plus 3. You suppose you could call Beast's hot-headed. Sorry. You hold down the power on Beast's back. It boosts like back to life again. Good morning. Good morning. Should I do the Dave voice? Good morning, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that. Having completed Beast's initial test run, what will you do now? Now would be a good time to show Beast to Josh, to see whether or not he's interested in funding its further development. I know I should fix little things I noticed during the test before I forget. You noticed throughout the test that some things were off in the way Beast moved. The distributed weight wasn't quite what you simulation predicted. As long as Beast had ill-fitting parts, the no longer would get used to moving around with them, and the harder it will be for that you change his body. You spend the rest of your day fiddling with CAD files, printing replacement parts, and seeing how Beast moves around with them. By the time you're done, you've yet again stayed up very late. But when Beast flies, there is now a precision in it stops and starts. When it raises its gun arm, it does so with style. Your attention perfection form has paid off, and you go to sleep happy. Grace. +2. Alright. This is stretchies. Give me candy update. How's everybody doing? The next day, the new semester begins. You know what? I'm gonna call it right there. That is part 1 of Choice of Robots. I am glad you guys came and listened to me. If you could, hit that follow button, or if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, or if you're on Rumble, hit that subscribe button. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed Storytime with King. Deuces.